What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. Welcome to the Week 14 Waiver Wire Fantasy Playoffs Edition video. The Browns named Johnny Manziel the starter going into Week 14 against the 49ers. The Eagles defense / special teams scored 3 touchdowns against the Patriots, and of course we all had him in our starting lineups. Not really. And Cam Newton went from being the guy to avoid in this year's fantasy draft to being a likely NFL MVP candidate. How the heck did that happen? Before we get into the waivers this week, I want to let you know that I have a surprise at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned. Without further ado, here are this week's waivers. A lot of these quarterbacks I've previously mentioned, and a lot of them are owned in your leagues, and it's going to be hard to pick them up, but a guy like Tyrod Taylor is owned surprisingly in less than half of his leagues. Now that he seems healthy, Watkins is getting a ton of targets. He's playing well. This guy's a must pick up in every league. You should have him at least as a QB2. He's definitely a start-worthy quarterback. Jameis Winston is going against the Saints. Tremendous upside this game, especially if Breeze is able to throw some touchdowns and the Buccaneers are going to have to throw the ball to get back in the game. This is slated to be a high-scoring game, but with these games against the Saints, they're highly volatile, meaning the Saints, if the Saints offense puts up a dud, it's going to be a lot of Doug Martin and some Charles Sims sprinkled in there. But if the Saints are able to put up a ton of points, likely Winston's going to be able to match Drew Brees' effort and maybe even be the best quarterback this week. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been incredibly consistent. In the past 2 weeks, he's just been on fire. Brandon Marshall's been on fire. Eric Decker, most consistent wide receiver this year in fantasy. I don't really need to say much more about Fitzmagic. And as I mentioned earlier in the previous videos, Brian Hoyer has some great matchups. He's going to be a good quarterback. If you look at his stats, the games he started and finished, he's been incredible. He's thrown no less than 2 touchdowns. I mean, not elite top 5 quarterback status. And this guy's more of a spot start, or if you have Tony Romo and he's hurt, something like that. But a great QB2 to have on your team. Definitely an underrated, undervalued QB. Alex Smith is decent. Matt Stafford's a high-risk start, but you have him week 15 going against the Saints. And I also like Marcus Mariota. This is a volatile guy as well. He either puts up duds or he puts up great games. It's either 1 touchdown or 3 or 4 touchdowns for this guy. So he's very volatile, but has a ton of upside. He's really good, and we've seen him with that huge rushing touchdown last week, which was great to see for Marcus Mariota owners. Now in deeper leagues, we have Tannehill, Cousins, Manziel, Gabbert, Castle, and Osweiler. Ryan Tannehill, you really can't trust this guy, but he has some decent matchups. These are more for dual quarterback leagues. You definitely don't want to pick up and start these guys this week or anything like that, or stashes in deeper leagues. So you got Tannehill, he's okay, very volatile, not a guy you want to trust. Kirk Cousins has some decent matchups, and Johnny Manziel, not so bad. He throws some touchdowns, might get some rushing yards on scramble plays. They're going to have to throw the ball to get back in the game because likely they're going to be down every single game from here on out this season. For running backs, we already know about Chandron. We already know about David Johnson. Chris Johnson on the Cardinals is out for the rest of the season. The Super Bowl, the real NFL Super Bowl, is the earliest date he can return. You know, Andre Ellington is hurt. He's unlikely to play this Thursday for Week 14. But we already know about David Johnson. I already know about Chandron. Those guys are must pickups in every league. These are some more guys. Bilal Powell is incredible in PPR leagues. James White should be owned in a lot of leagues, even if it's non-PPR. But in PPR, obviously, he gets a huge boost. 10 receptions Week 13. Wow, need I say more? Packers head coach Mike McCarthy basically said, Lacey might be the starter. That's what I got out of what he said, so I'm not going to base too much on that. But James Starks, a running back, Eddie Lacy's backup, he should be picked up in a lot of leagues. He's a good stash on your team. And we saw David Cobb, not bad, 13 carries this past week. That's a great RB to stash on your team. For wide receivers, a lot of teams actually dropped Allen Hurns because he didn't play last week with that injury. He should be back this week, had an extra week to rest. A must pick up. He is likely not not available in your league unless you're in an 8-man league, but I had to put that up there because some people did get impatient and drop Allen Hurns. Doug Baldwin, a must pick up, and Quan Bolden, highly underrated. Now, this guy's not going to put up a ton of points, doesn't have a ton of upside, but he's going to get those possession receptions. Blaine Gabbert's going to throw the ball to him. He should be owned in a lot of leagues. A reliable wide receiver. Now, a guy with a lot of upside and some risk, obviously, Dorial Green-Beckham. That's a great wide receiver. We should have seen him have a great game against the Jags this past week. Also look for Kendall Wright, Devontae Parker, Brian Hartline, Cecil Shorts. I really like this guy. Nate Washington. And in deeper leagues, those are some more names that you can pick up. For example, Brandon Coleman, but only if Snead is hurt. If Snead is healthy, looking good, and is going to play, there's just way too many targets for Drew Brees. Drew Brees is going to spread the ball. It's really hard to rely on just one Saints receiver in that offense. For tight ends, I really like ASJ. Zach Miller, of course. Martellus Bennett has been placed on season-ending IR. Zach Miller's value just goes off the charts right now. He's going to be a great tight end too for your team. A great spot start if you need a tight end. For example, if you were a Jimmy Graham owner. I like Richard Rodgers. Vance McDonald had a concussion. You have to check up on his status, monitor Vance McDonald's status, and also monitor Garrett Selleck's status, the other tight end for the 49ers. I like Charles Clay. Heath Miller injured, so monitor his status. And then we see a drop-off here with Eric Ebron. And only in deeper leagues I would consider Rudolph Tammy, Luke Wilson, or Jared Cook. That's probably not even a top 20 tight end. Defenses to stream this week. Chiefs defense, one of the best defenses to pick up for the playoffs. They're playing against the Chargers. We saw what happened last time they played them. They crushed them. I think the Chargers only scored 3 points that game in Week 11. I got the Packers defense going against the Cowboys. The Cowboys don't put up a ton of points, especially with Romo out. Another great streaming option is the Lions defense. They've been playing well, and they play against the Rams. This is one of the least potent offenses in the NFL. I think right now, in my opinion, they are the least potent offense in the NFL. Todd Gurley has been terrible, and that's really their only weapon. And if you're in deeper leagues, look for the Jaguars defense playing against the Colts. Really like that matchup. Hasselbeck is expected to start, but he did suffer an injury, so monitor his status. If he's out, the Jaguars defense gets a huge boost in value this week. In a lower scoring game, I like both the Niners and Browns defenses if you're desperate for a streaming defense this week. Brandon McManus has not been playing that well as of recent, but I really like him. He's playing at home this week. He is my #1 kicker to pick up, followed by Graham Gano. That Panthers team is awesome. They can rely on their defense. Hey, we're going to kick a field goal. We didn't get the touchdown. We can rely on our defense. And their offense is good enough to get a lot of, again, in field goal range, plenty of times every game. Dan Bailey, 96.2% field goal percentage this season. Wow, that's really good, and that guy is so accurate. He's really good. I like Chandler Catanzaro this week and for the remainder of the season. One of the 2 reasons I really like this guy. Cardinals offense, really potent. The second reason is he's going to be playing in good weather conditions, going to be playing in a dome a lot of games. So I really like Chandler Catanzaro. I like him more than Cairo Santos. Cairo Santos may be playing in some more poor weather conditions, and also he's not as accurate as Chandler Catanzaro. A sleeper kicker who I had in DFS last week and did great and is good in season long and likely more in deeper leagues. There's probably better options out there in a shallow league like an 8-man league, but if you're in a 12-man league or deeper, look for Dustin Hopkins. I really like this kicker for Washington. He's pretty accurate, and they're going to get a decent amount of chances for him to kick field goals. And those are all the waivers this week. I have a special announcement for you guys. I will be hosting a free webinar called DFS Secrets. It'll show my process on how I project players and make my lineup each week for daily fantasy football. Now, if you don't play DFS, you're just a fan of regular season-long fantasy football, you still need to watch this webinar. It shows how I project players on a weekly basis in fantasy football, and it's going to really help you out. I asked, hey, how many people want a free webinar? Tons of people said, sign me up. I want this. So for you guys, I will be doing this. Follow the link below and register. For the first 50 people that register for this webinar, I'll be having a random drawing and giving out a free t-shirt to just one person, but you have to be one of the first 50 to sign up. So go ahead and sign up below. Also, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, please leave a comment. I love to hear what your feedback is, and I'll see you guys on the next video.